Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, President, distinguished colleagues. A warm welcome from President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and the entire people of Mexico. In 2022, we faced one of the most serious crises in recent times, which had a severe effect on the global order, international peace and security, the economy, basic product supply, and essential services. The need for humanitarian assistance has multiplied. Inequality, sadly, has grown, and the effects of climate change have worsened as well. Health security has worsened because of the pandemic, and add to that a major threat to the food security for various sectors of the population in the poorest and most marginalized countries. This is also a context characterized by a rise in geopolitical tensions between world powers. When it seemed like on the horizon was the recovery from the greatest effects that the pandemic had because of COVID-19, we saw the war in Ukraine with a risk of a nuclear incident and catastrophic potential consequences. In addition, beyond just security and stability in Europe, in addition to high costs in human lives and millions of people displaced internally and refugees in other countries, the war in Ukraine has had an effect on the availability of food and fuel all over the world. This is added to many other armed conflicts that have remained without solution, that are a weight on the international harmony and order based on international law. Mexico, as a responsible country and committed to the promotion of a peaceful solution for conflicts, attends this assembly with a proposal of dialogue and peace for Ukraine that we'll explain now. The Security Council has been unable to fulfill the mandate that the UN Charter gives it because it was unable to prevent the war. It wasn't able to implement measures that would halt armed aggression either. Much less has it been able to launch any kind of diplomatic process to seek a solution via dialogue or negotiation. We should say that it has also been unable to make sure that the necessary humanitarian assistance is delivered, and sadly it hasn't been able to openly support the work of the Secretary-General either, or other actors, to manage access to grains and fertilizer markets produced by the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Given this paralysis, we've had to take recourse to the General Assembly in a special session, emergency session, in which Mexico, along with France, proposed an adequate framework to channel such humanitarian aid through Resolution E-11/2, which undoubtedly was helpful but was insufficient given the wake of destruction and suffering that the war has left behind it. For those reasons, the President of Mexico believes, aware of the responsibility that each one of us has, proposes a caucus of heads of state and government that would help and support the efforts by the Secretary-General to promote measures that would further progress trust-building measures between the Russian Federation and Ukraine, and that would allow us to make use of a peaceful resolution mechanism that would be within the framework of the UN Charter. That said, we must all provide a complementary mechanism so that we can interact with the parties to this conflict, so that we can bring about the necessary mediation. This proposal was circulated to the Secretary-General in recent days and involved parties as well as delegations from India and the Holy See. The President believes that the Secretary-General should participate in this caucus, as well as His Excellency Narendra Modi and His Holiness Pope Francis. We will continue with the necessary consultations with the sole goal of contributing as impartial actors and in good faith to generate the greatest support possible to the management and good offices of the Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and the caucus, and we hope that the creation of this caucus will have the support of the UN's member states. In these last 2 years, as an elected member of the Security Council, Mexico has sought to deeply analyze the structural causes of conflicts and to promote preventive diplomacy as central elements for peacekeeping as well as for the maintenance of international security. We've brought up to the Security Council things that have been brushed aside, like poverty, corruption, and inequality as underlying factors of conflict, and we have also brought up mental health as an important goal for humanitarian aid, the notions of masculinities for preventing radicalization and terrorism, the importance of respecting the system of the collective security system established in the Charter, and the need for coordination and cooperation for peace between main UN bodies. Illicit flows of small arms and light weapons violate international and regional security. That is why Mexico has promoted the implementation of measures to bring down such flows. We also managed to adopt Resolution 2616 in 2021, which seeks to strengthen national authority capacities in the fight against the illicit trafficking of arms and their diversion. We have worked for transparency, effectiveness, and accountability within the Council. We will continue to advocate for a comprehensive reform in Security Council, which will include more chairs, longer terms, and different categories of members so that it's more representative, transparent, and efficient. The paralysis of the Security Council is the result of the abuse of the so-called right to a veto by some of its permanent members. Actually, in this assembly, 2 of them explicitly referred to the need to restrict its use to exceptional situations. In that regard, Mexico and France have proposed that members should abstain from using the veto and only use it in mass atrocities. We invite all states who have not done so yet to join this effort, which already has the support of 106 states. In the meantime, Mexico and 83 other states will be promoting a mechanism for accountability, so that when a veto is used, the General Assembly can come together to debate on that and invite the author or authors of the veto to explain their position. This proposal was adopted unanimously through Resolution 76/262 and has been implemented twice and is a step in the right direction. We must now make a decision about whether or not we want to take further steps to avoid this system from suffering greater paralysis when facing mass suffering. Nuclear weapons are still the worst threat to humankind's survival. Mexico laments the lack of political will, particularly by those states who have nuclear weapons, to achieve agreements that would help us to accomplish this goal, something that was confirmed in the recent review conference for the NPT, which did not result in any conclusion, even when the risks of nuclear proliferation grow every single day. My country agrees with the vision of the Secretary-General that a world that is safer, a world of peace, must sit squarely within international law, cooperation, and solidarity, and not in an incessant accumulation and modernization of nuclear and conventional arsenals. In fact, this was the vision that brought the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean to establish the first nuclear weapon-free zone in a densely populated area through the Treaty of Tlatelolco, which led to the conclusion and implementation in recent years of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Mr. President, colleagues, Mexico reaffirms that the United Nations remain a unique a singular tool within the international community for the peaceful resolution of conflicts and for the achievement of the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Our country will continue to promote multilateralism, international solidarity, and cooperation as the best paths to overcome global challenges. We cannot close the door on political dialogue or diplomatic negotiation. Current international tensions will not be resolved through force. We must guarantee political understanding and mechanisms for trust building. That's right. Recovering trust is one of our greatest challenges today. Mexico makes a call to all member states to work together to achieve the peace that we all aspire to work together on the post-pandemic recovery with a sustainable and resilient focus that will include the needs and priorities of all countries, and that will put people at the center of our actions. Thank you very much.
I thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mexico,